It's particularly relevant to have the participation of Dr. Zhou at these panels because he is Secretary General of the NGO Biodiversity Conservation and Green Development Foundation. It's the nation's leading environmental organization, and it's involved in sustainable development and poverty alleviation. Dr. Zhou also participates very actively in the research for the Global Pact for the Environment and has established many partnerships. In 2018, he was elected executive member of the Club of Rome, and amongst his many activities, he founded one of China's first internet providers. Welcome him in remote.
This is Zhou. I have, since I'm traveling another city, I'll have my assistant to present on my behalf.
We would like to share our civil society participation in climate actions. And the talk is going to be in three parts. One is the human-based solution. The second is policy advisory, and the third is youth leadership. As for human-based solution, we are now facing three crises of climate change, the loss of biodiversity, and public health emergency. So we call for people to change their lifestyles and the ways of production, beginning from the plastic covers. We wrote to the Ministry of Education and the policymakers calling on them to stop using plastic covers. And our efforts paid, because in September 2019, the Education Ministry announced the notice to stop schools from forcing students to wrap up their textbooks. This will actually lead to 1 billion reduction of plastic covers and also a relieving of the environment in terms of resources, waste, and other environmental pollutions. Another example for our HBH is our call to stop of packaging. As you can see from the picture on the slide, for a particular packaging, I've got to mention the Mid-Autumn Festival is a very important holiday in China, and almost every person will go to shop and buy a book of the mooncakes. But for the packages, a total of 8 layers of packaging involving paper bags, metal, plastic, and other materials, but the net weight of mooncakes only accounted for about 34% of the total weight, which is really a big problem. So we wrote to the State Administration of Market Supervision and Administration, suggesting that the national standard for mooncakes should be revised, so companies should not be able to overpackage their mooncakes and waste resources. A third example for HBS is our local scientific investigation. The background is, since 2000, precipitation in central and western regions of China has increased significantly. The main reason is climate change. As for Lopner, it's a very mysterious place in China and has many stories, like the mysterious disappearance of the lowland Asian country. It was also a very huge lake in history, and the water volume of the rivers and the lakes in the upper reaches of Lopner has also increased significantly. That is the main driver for us to conduct the scientific investigation, trying to figure out what is going on there and for future policy suggestions and policy decisions, which we believe is very important. The second part is our policy advisory, beginning with our environmental public interest litigations. Since 2015, the new environmental law in China has granted civil society the qualifications for filing lawsuits against polluting companies. So we organized our EPRL team to try to do more for the environment. Like for the problem of abandoning wind and light, apart from writing letters to our government authorities for a change, we also filed the first environmental public interest litigation against one state and great corporation in Xinjiang province, which was damaging the ecological environment. Actually, our work has actively promoted the process of environmental rule of law in China, we were named the CCTV 2015 Legal Person of the Year. Another example for the policy advisory is our continuous efforts at banning illegal wildlife trade and consumption have not been in vain. On February 24th, as you can see from the wildlife has been increasingly noticed by the public since the coronavirus. And on February 24th, the National People's Congress adopted the decision of banning illegal wildlife trade, abolishing the practice of eating wildlife, and securing public health security, which is permanently effective. As you can see from the picture on the upper left, we wrote to the state, and our work began before February, writing to the state administration for market regulation and the national forestry and the grassland administration on carrying out special actions to rectify and clean up pertaining to wildlife animals. Our work of protecting pangolins, the world's most trafficked mammal, has also made big progress this year. We called for upgrading pangolins from Class 2 to Class 1 protect level and removing pangolin scales from the Chinese pharmacopoeia. And the two continuous efforts the targets have also been realized in June this year. Another example is about how to build an ecological civilization city. If cities around the world can function in an ecological and environmentally friendly way, this can have a really, really important implication for our future and the planet. So on April 8th, at the invitation of Ulan-Chabu Municipal Committee of Inner Mongolia, we had a meeting with the municipal government and the Ministry of Natural Resources, the Bureau of Eco-Environment, and conduct in-depth exchanges on how to enable the city to function in an ecological and a civilized way. As for the Ulan-Chabu city, it is actually a very important city in the north of China with a very fragile ecological environment, but functioning as the transportation and economic hub. So if it can actually work in an ecologically civilized way, it will really be very beneficial for the local environment and ecosystem there. And I would also like to talk about our 4 principles of ecological restoration. The 4 principles including the principle of saving, the principle of limitation, the principle of natural, and the principle of micro. Why? Because we've noticed that since in recent years, there has been an increasing number of projects under the name of being ecological but doing harm to the environment, like the Bulao tour in Beijing, the picture in the center of the slide. It has a very rich biodiversity, but was threatened by a water conservation forest project. Our 4 principles place particular emphasis on the ecosystem and the nature of environment, like the principle of limitation, which means restoration has to be done based on the local characteristics and do not go beyond the planetary boundaries. We also have proposed the 3 principles of pollution governance. As you can see from the picture on the right-hand side of the slide, since 2015, around almost 500 students in Changzhou Foreign Language School have developed abnormal symptoms. There used to be 3 chemical plants on the plot, and they discharged their chemical emissions and caused a great damage to the local soil. That is the reason for the abnormal symptoms discovered among students. That is why we believe correct pollution governance is very important for the environment as a whole. As for the three principles, the principle of no proliferation, the principle of no harm, and the principle of sufficient publicity. Like the principle of sufficient publicity, if people can be well informed that the place has been polluted, and the degree to which it has been recovered, it will be much better for public health from a wider point of view. Right. And lastly, youth leadership. For instance, we have organized various college campaigns and school workshops to force a green mentality among students from an early stage, like the 4th National College Students Environmental Protection Knowledge Contest. We had a total of 1.8 million participants and nearly 2,000 school committees or school students' union to support us. We believe that cultivating a green mentality among students and our future generation will be of a great significance in terms of what the planet will be like in the future and the future world and the common village we are living in. Right. Finally, a brief introduction description of our organization. It was established in 1985 on the occasion of the ELK reintroduction program between China and Britain. So initially we were called China ELK Foundation, but as we place increasingly more emphasis on biodiversity and green development, in 2009, we were renamed China Biodiversity, Conservation and Green Development Foundation, resonating the nationwide call of accelerating the pace of green development. We are the National First Lab Society, the first batch of national public welfare foundations qualified for public fundraising. We support nearly 2,000 volunteers to carry out environmentally friendly activities and also support hundreds of grassroots NGOs for the common endeavor of biodiversity conservation and green development. Please, if you would like to contact us, you can find our various addresses on the slide. And thank you very much. Let's answer to the call to action. Thank you very much.